So today we are going deep, really deep, you know?
Exactly.
Right. It's all built around this 8-motor oscillator block.
8 motors.
8 motors, and
Okay.
it's split into 2 voices. So
Yeah.
you've got 2 independent voices going on, and this is the really cool part. 3 of the waveforms, they're generated by, get this, these tiny motors spinning these optical discs.
Wild.
And then infrared sensors are reading the patterns on these discs. It's like a little mechanical orchestra.
Miniature.
Yeah, miniature, powered by light, essentially.
That's a really cool way to put it.
Now the 4th waveform,
Okay, here we go.
this is where it gets even weirder. The M, just M, which stands for motor.
Makes sense.
This one's not about light. This is all electromagnetism.
Pure magnetic.
So there are magnetic pickups that are positioned near the motor coils, and they're capturing the inductive signal. Kind of like how a tone wheel organ works, or
an electric guitar.
an electric guitar pickup. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's really neat because they actually highlight the inherent imperfections
Oh, yeah.
of that optical system, right? Like they're a feature, not a bug kind of thing.
Yeah, they call them desirable sound characteristics. It's like these little quirks.
Well, happy accidents, like, introduce a subtle kind of instability,
Right.
which you just can't really replicate
Right.
with perfectly clean digital oscillators or even like your typical analog circuits.
Yeah. It's almost like those variations are built in.
They're built in, right? And
Yeah.
The DNA of the synth.
So how do we control all this mechanical energy?
Right.
What does this mean for, someone at home? Well, even if you have the filter self-resonating.
Yeah, okay.
Right, so it's essentially screaming its own pure tone.
Yeah.
You won't hear a peep unless the amp envelopes of that voice are actually being triggered.
Okay.
So it's a really interesting part of how the sound is gated and sculpted.
So the dynamics are very, very much baked into
Yeah.
the design of this thing.
All right, let's get into some of the specific features.
Let's do it.
You can adjust the density of the noise.
Wow.
But wait, there's more?
Always more.
You can push that right screen encoder.
What's in there?
You can really fine-tune those modulator waveforms.
Oh.
We're talking pulse width for the square wave,
Okay.
X and Y axis offset for shifting the phase and output level. Slate B for the rise and fall of the ramp waves.
Right.
A global scale for the modulation depth. And then a whole section dedicated to the stepped shape type.
Stepped, okay.
Yeah. Within that, you can choose like U key, down, noise, pattern, or random.
Yeah.
You can set the number of steps in the pattern.
Right.
You can choose a specific pattern number.
Okay.
You can adjust the density of the noise.
Wow.
But wait, there's more?
Always more.
You can push that right screen encoder.
What's in there?
You can really fine-tune those modulator waveforms.
Oh.
We're talking pulse width for the
Square wave, the X and Y axis offset for shifting the